right, welcome everybody. I'd like to recognize a few guests that I can see out there. George Page, our Parks and Rec Director. George, how you doing?
Great.
Happened to see a former fire chief walk in too, a guy named J.D. Rice. J.D., how you doing? Good to see you. And others that are still piling in for this evening's council meeting. We're going to start with item 2, awards and presentations. The presentation of the municipal audit for fiscal year 2022. Chuck Dinkins, our finance director, will introduce Justin Elliott, concurring partner from Malden and Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Each year the city undergoes an audit of its books and financial report. This year the audit was conducted by the firm of Malden and Jenkins, and we have with us Justin Elliott with that firm to present their findings on our report of the city's activities for the year.
Justin, welcome.
Appreciate it. I'll try to keep this brief, but before we get started, as he said, my name is Justin Elliott of Malden and Jenkins. I'm 100% governmental. Just so y'all know, I've been doing this year-round for the last 10+ years. I'm here tonight to speak about the 2022 audit of the city's financial statements. This audit was performed in accordance with GASB, with the governmental accounting auditing standards. And I want to make sure you understand that before we get started, y'all did a great thing this year. Y'all had an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that we can give you as an external auditor. So, but also with this, when we're doing the audit, we are required to do 2 more reports, 2 more audits. One is a yellow book report, and one is a single audit report. The yellow book report is something where we look into your internal controls and your compliance with state law. I'm glad to say that we had no issues there at all. With the single audit report, you're required to have that if you had over $750,000 of federal expenditures. And I can say that y'all definitely have more than that. Y'all had about $9 million. So y'all had a couple of major programs, and nothing came out bad there. Y'all had an unmodified opinion as well, so that's about as good as it gets. I just want to make sure we hit on those 2 things. So everything's good, and that's thanks to Chuck and his staff, and they did a great job on that. So we y'all end up getting the best score you can get. No findings, nothing bad at all. So I'm going to try to keep this brief about the financial statements. I'm going to try to I'm going to hit on the general fund, which is y'all your heart of your operations at the city. It accounts for the majority of your revenues and expenditures. It's it's what you really more likely want to be based off of. And I'm also going to touch on the enterprise funds, mainly the water and sewer department. So first, when we're talking about general fund, you'll have about $18 million in assets, about $2.5 million of that is in cash. That's really good. That's what you want to see. You only have liabilities of about $5 million, so you ended up with about a fund balance, equity, whatever you want to call it, in this sense is about $13 million. Of that, and then you also, when you think about the income statement, you also had revenues of about $40 million. You also had expenditures of about $37. So you ended up with about $2 million in net income at the end of the day, after everything was in the general fund. When we're talking about that, you want to think about your revenues. The majority of your revenues come from property taxes. Or taxes of some sort, which is the majority of those are property taxes. You also got insurance premium taxes. You also have your sales tax, and that's for a city of your size, that's where you want. That's where we typically see a lot of the revenues, other than other than your SPLOST and your water, sewer, and your enterprise funds. But when we're talking about that, we always have to bring up one good, we like to try like an indicator, a ratio. We like to talk. It's basically trying to figure out how much of your fund balance could fund your expenditures. So you had, like I said earlier, you had about $13 million of expenditures, fund balance. You had about $37 million of expenditures. So if your doors closed up tomorrow, you basically would be able to fund 125 days, which is about 4 months of expenditures. And that's, when a 630 year end, you want that because your major source of revenues comes in typically in November, December for property taxes. So, you're right where we normally see cities of your size, or any city that's 630 year end. That's where we want to see them. But so when we're talking about that, so that's about as good as you can. In my opinion, you can always get better, but I think that's just a good place to be. I'm going to jump over to the enterprise funds, mainly the water and sewer. The water and sewer, because that basically accounts for the majority of your operations in enterprise funds. And that's, your business type funds, the ones that act like a private sector But basically, you want your operating revenues to cover your operating expenses. And I can say that for the most part, that happened from all of them. When I was thinking about it, so I looked at it earlier, and over your water and sewer, you had about $213 million in assets. About 207 of that was capital assets, which is, I mean, that's the majority of it, and that's not uncommon. And then, so you also had your net position of about $151 million, which is your equity, and that's good. I mean, that's, you know, compared to your assets, that's great. So you end up, it's not even a bad place to be. You have operating revenues, and you're on the income statement about 22, and you had operating expenses of about 18. You end up with about $4.5 million overall net income. And that net income, that also includes some transfers out to help, you know, other funds that need it. And that's, you know, normally with a city, with a city's department, water department, you would think about, they usually make a decent amount to fund other operations, because that's where a lot of the funds come from. But there's other enterprise funds here that also help, so it's not just a one-ticket operation. Also, so I think overall your funds, like your general fund and your water and sewer, are very healthy. They have a good fund balance, have a good equity, you know, whatever you want to call it. All that's good. Your assets are great. You don't have any, the liabilities don't seem excessive at all. And so for the operational standpoint, I think you're healthy. Also, while I'm still here, and while I'm talking about this, I have to make sure we, let you know we had no issues with independence. We had no disagreements with management. We had no issues with that at all. We had no uncredited audits, misstatements. Everything was good. So we had to make sure we let y'all know that. Overall, I believe that this audit was a great success, mainly due to Chuck and his team. I'd like to thank that. And if you have any questions about the audit presentation, please let me know. But I mean, I just think it was a smooth audit, and much better. I wouldn't say much better last year, just as last year was our first year audit, and then this year was we got a little bit better. We got everything figured out, and but thank you. I just want to make sure to let y'all know. Thank you for the opportunity to let me come up here and present to y'all. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Council, any questions for Justin? Justin, we thank you for that clean bill of health, but we especially congratulate and applaud Chuck Dinkins and his entire staff as well.
Chuck did great.
I'll toss in for good measure the fiscal responsibility of all our department heads and employees as well, so thank you. Did he just sneak out? He's about to cry. Is he about to cry? All right, Council, you've had time to look over the minutes from a few meetings, the special call meeting April 21st, the special call meeting April 27th, and the regular meeting from May 25th. Are there any additions or deletions? Hearing none, seeing none, all three are approved by acclamation. Move on to the public hearing items. First of those, we're going to advance item F to the front of the class, and I'll take a motion to table F.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands. Council, thank you. Move on to item A, public hearing for the adoption of fiscal year 2024 budget. This is the second reading. Richard Hardy, City Manager, to present.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. As you know, our first public hearing was May the 24th, 2023, and we completely went through every area for the financial plan for fiscal year 24. This evening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize, starting with the projected sources of funds, and I'll walk through starting with the revenues. As outlined for 24, looking at our overall revenues, $141,496,323. Now, our projected uses of funds is $133,130,313. Our Excess sources overuses is $8,366,010. With our estimated fund balance of 1 July 2023, $223,920,029. The estimated fund balance for June 30th, 2024 is projected to be $232,286,039. Outline on our next slide is our general fund revenues, basically as was just walked through during our audit, where our funds come from. 30.2% property taxes, 34% other taxes, 28% sales taxes, and on down the line, you can see that number gets smaller: license, permits, intergovernmental, charges for service fees, forfeiture, and miscellaneous. The next slide outlines our general fund expenditures by classification, a breakdown of the percentages of where the funding goes. As you can see, the personnel services, 67.1%. The next falling in at 14% is other services and charges. And just as we outlined through the when I first presented the other smaller, you can see the expenditures by classification. Looking at the general fund by department, the police department, you can see, makes up 40%, followed by fire, public works, engineering, and so forth. The last slide is just a recap of what I just covered initially. You know, at the end, our estimated fund balance, July 1st, 2023, $223,920,029. In accordance with Georgia Code 3681-3, each local government shall adopt and operate on an annual balanced budget for the general fund, each special revenue fund, and each debt service fund in use by the local government. The annual balanced budget shall be adopted by ordinance or resolution. A budget ordinance is balanced when the sum of the estimated revenues and appropriated fund balance is equal to the appropriations. The fiscal year 2024 proposed City of Valdosta budget has been reviewed, discussed, and a public hearing has been conducted to afford citizens the opportunity to make comments on the funding levels. The consolidated proposed budget decreased $2.2 million when compared to fiscal year 2023. There are increases in personnel due to new positions and the 3% COLA that are partially offset by smaller cuts across the city. Staff recommends that Council approve the ordinance adopting the City of Valdosta proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. Standing by for any questions or concerns.
Council, any questions for our city manager? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to you for approval for the fiscal year 2024 proposed budget as presented.
Public hearing.
This is a public hearing item. Anybody that wants to come forward and speak for our budget, please do. You aren't kidding, I am. Seeing none, is there anybody that would like to speak out against the proposed 2024 budget? Thank you. I will now close out this portion of the public hearing and turn it over to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to adopt the budget as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, show of hands. It is adopted unanimously, and Richard, to you and your staff, well done.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on to item B, consideration of an ordinance for conditional use permits for a tattoo parlor and studio business in an office professional zoning district, requested by Anthony Tong. The property is located at 307 East Jane. Matt Martin, our planning director, will present.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. You may recall this same property came before you 2 months ago for a rezoning from RP to OP. That rezoning was approved, and as the stated purpose at that time, the applicant is now back before you for a conditional use permit approval. The proposed use of the property is a tattoo parlor or studio. Subject property is located at 307 East James Street. As you see on the zoning pattern map on the screen, it is OP zoning with a similar RP zoning all the way around. Character area is still the same, a transitional neighborhood. Aerial imagery, old growth forest with some older buildings, mostly a residential office type area. Subject property looks like this with existing parking front and rear. Adjacent properties along James Street. This is sort of a boulevard-oriented street that leads from Ashley back in towards the stadium and the city school board offices. Nearby properties, professional office building next door to the west, some residential uses across the street and going down the street, as well as next door, and then there's another office a little further to the east. Planning Commission reviewed this request at their meeting on May 22nd, and they found it consistent with the conditional use review criteria as well as the comprehensive plan. Those findings are there in your packet, and they're recommending approval subject to 4 conditions listed in your packet. Please note the recommended change from the Planning Commission for hours of operation in condition number 2, which would be hours of operation shall be limited to within the hours of 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. But glad to answer any questions you may have on this one.
Council, any questions for Matt?
I have a question, Matt. Does the owner have any problems with those times that you're seeing? The only reason I'm asking is there's a store and a restaurant down there on that end, and they're not closing that early at 8. I'm asking,
Right.
Does he have a problem with that in case he needs to stay open a little later?
Staff had recommended a more narrow set of hours to Planning Commission. It was the applicant who requested these hours
Okay.
to the Planning Commission.
No problem.
Good. All right. Matt, thank you. Again, this is a public hearing item. I got it right this time. Is there anybody that would like to come forward and speak in favor of this request? Please do. Please come up and state your name and address. Okay, just hold up 1 second. Is there anybody that wants to come forward and speak in favor of this request? Seeing none, is there anybody that would like to come and speak against this request? Please come forward. And again, please state your name and address.
Okay. Sorry, I've never done this, so. Hey, my name is Madison Reed. I own the property directly across the street, 308 East Jane Street. It's a duplex residential. That one right there. You can go back. No, yep, this one right here. So we bought that property not even a year ago, and we put a lot of money and time into that property to try to make it just more beautiful and try to benefit the area. So that area itself is just a very beautiful area that has a lot of potential. And I think if you look like directly across the street over there, when you go by the college, you have the Drexel Park and you have the very beautiful historic neighborhood. And we feel like the tattoo shop doesn't really benefit that area just because of that. Like, it has so much potential, beauty, historic features to it that I don't think a tattoo shop would really benefit that area just because of the kind of neighborhood it is. It's very residential and professional buildings. There's a attorney office that they renovated right next door not long ago, and I think that's it right there. Yeah, it's just, I mean, if everyone just continues to renovate the area and make it what it deserves to be, which is a beautiful area, I think that it could just benefit the neighborhood and the city instead of trying to put a tattoo shop there. I don't know how that benefits it. Plus, there's also small kids that live in the area. And as a mother myself, I don't know that I would want that kind of clientele around my baby. And then also, the other thing that concerns us is just all the traffic coming in and out of the neighborhood. It's a very quiet, peaceful place. We don't really want, like, people coming in and out all hours of the night. Like I said, there are children in the area. So those are really our major concerns. And like I said, we put a lot of money and time into that house. We don't want it to go to waste by the area kind of going, down. I'm nothing against the business itself. I just don't think that's the right area for it.
Madison, thank you, and your house does look very beautiful.
Thank you.
We
That one's not it, but thank you.
No, I know. Well,
Yeah,
there it is.
We still have a lot of work to do, but yeah, it is. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wants to come forward and speak
Should we go ahead and sit?
against this?
Okay.
Is he at the same residence? Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, Madison. Is there anybody else that wants to speak against this request? Seeing none, I'll close out the public hearing portion and turn it over to council for action.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we approve the applicant's request as stated,
Second. With the four conditions.
with the 4 conditions stated.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Council, thank you. Move on to item C, consideration of an ordinance to rezone 0.81 acres from office professional to community commercial, as requested by Jack Langdale. The property is located at 106 West Northside Drive. Matt Martin to present.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. This property is about halfway between North Patterson and North Oak Street, and the request is to rezone from OP to CC. As you can see on the zoning map on the screen and in your packet, it is part of a block that is really a sea of commercial zoning. This is a professional office from many years ago, Dr. Purvis's office, but it has been sitting empty for at least 13 years, a very long time. Now we have a proposed tenant, a purchaser, to convert the property to an office or to a commercial type use, which is actually a vet clinic, as an expansion to the existing vet clinic down the street. But that requires CC zoning, so hence the rezoning request. Commercial is the dominating zoning pattern and land use pattern in this area, and so with that, Planning Commission reviewed the request at their meeting on May 22nd. They found it consistent with the comprehensive plan, the standards for exercise of zoning power, which are there in your packet, and they're recommending approval of CC zoning.
Council, any questions for Matt on this property? Matt, thank you. Again, this is a public hearing item. Is there anybody that would like to come forward and speak in favor of this request? Please state your name.
Council, Jack Langdale, 701 North Patterson. I'm here on behalf of the Purvis family who owns the building. Dr. Purvis operated his practice there for some time. The property, as Matt mentioned, has been on the market for a while. Dr. Kyle Harrell from down the street operates his veterinary practice just about 600 feet down the road. And he has outgrown his building and he wants to expand and have his veterinary practice see patients there as well as his current location. I asked him if he intended to do any kind of outdoor boarding or anything where there would be animals outside, and he said no. He was going to just use the exam rooms the way they have been used, except for it would be pets in there instead of people. So, if I can answer any questions.
Council, any questions? None? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else at this time that would like to speak in favor of this request? Seeing none, is there anybody that would like to speak out against this request? Again, seeing none, I'll close out this portion and turn it over to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve this rezoning as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, show of hands. Council, thank you. Unanimous. Move on to item D, consideration of an ordinance to rezone a total of 34.91 acres from highway commercial to community commercial as requested by Jack Langdale. Property is located at 2101 West Hill Avenue. Matt Martin, again to present.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. This is also a rezoning request. Property is located at the southwest corner of the exit 16 interchange. As you see on the zoning pattern map in front of you, it is all highway commercial for the subject property, as well as many of the properties that are around it. The applicant is looking at redeveloping their site, which is about 35 acres, primarily commercial type use, perhaps office, and perhaps a mixed-use pattern that might include multifamily. In an effort to expand the possible range of these uses to be considered for redevelopment, they are requesting to downzone the property to CC, which simply allows multifamily to be added to the mix of possibilities. They are still very much in the planning stages of what their master plan might be, and they're looking to see if multifamily would even be a possibility, hence the rezoning request. survey of the subject property. It's 3 existing parcels, most of which is vacant, but we all recognize Kinderloo Inn, the Austin Steakhouse, which is at the eastern end of the property, a vacant gasoline station near the center, and visibility from there, you see exit 16's interchange, a newly redeveloped truck stop that is diagonally across the street to the northwest, and other commercial uses in the area. Planning Commission reviewed this also at the May 22nd meeting, found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, the standards for exercise of zoning power, with those responses there in your packet, and they're recommending approval of the rezoning down to CC.
Any questions for Matt on this one? Matt, thank you. Again, a public hearing item. Is there anybody that would like to come forward and speak in favor of this request?
Jack Langdale, 701 North Patterson. I'm here on behalf of the landowners, and Matt did a good job describing what we were looking to do. Redevelop the site, and the primary reason for the rezoning is we would like a multifamily element to go along with some of the already approved uses in CH. I will make a comment. The Austin's restaurant has been there for a long time. It's very popular. That will not be leaving. We hope to see it relocated in a new building on the site.
And I'll breathe easy.
So, any questions?
Council, any questions? It's an exciting project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Seeing none, is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Again, seeing none, it's yours for action, Council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, show of hands. Council, thank you. Thank you, Jack. Move on to item E. Consideration of an ordinance to rezone 0.97 acres from single-family residential R10 to highway commercial CH. It's requested by Jason Parker. It's at 1511 Harmon Drive. Matt Martin to present.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. As you see on the zoning map on the screen, this is a 1-acre square-shaped parcel. It is next door to an existing church, which is the current owner of the property. Applicant has the property under contract for purchase for future commercial development. They're also interested in purchasing the CH property that is in front of it. That would make together a 2-acre site for a proposed car wash facility. Character area of this area out on St. Augustine Road is Community Activity Center. That's due to its proximity to the mall area. Aerial imagery, it's a vacant lot, as is the commercial lot in front. You see sort of the transition zone between the commercial corridor along North St. Augustine and the residential area back to the northeast behind it. Subject survey, very old grid pattern. This is indicative of the county neighborhood that was here from many decades ago, which has been transitioning for the past 20-plus years. Site sketch in your packet from the applicant. This is very conceptual in nature. It has not been submitted for plan review, but simply to demonstrate a fairly large car wash facility that is self-serve and full service, as well as vacuums. Also some pictures presented by the applicant of what the building styles might look like, and very modern current style of a car wash type facility. Subject property, she sees a vacant lot. This is the existing church to the southeast, which is the owner of the property. This is the vacant lot in front, and some of the commercial development along St. Augustine Road, and then the view looking back up the hill into the neighborhood area. Planning Commission reviewed the request at their meeting on May 22nd, found it consistent with the comprehensive plan, the standards for exercise of zoning power, there in your packet, and they're recommending approval of CH zoning. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions for Matt?
Matt, I have a question. I know this is for zoning purposes, but my only concern is with us having so many of these car washes come up, is there anything we can put in these stipulations where if these, let's say for instance, we just get tired of getting our cars washed, can we make sure this thing is secured so no one can just go in there and, you know, it's a lot of open space where these things people won't just start living in, and, you know, homeless people, you know, that's what I'm trying to make sure that, because we have a lot of car washes.
We do, and of course what's before you is not a specific approval for a car wash, but a zoning change.
Right.
One thing that we could pass on as a request to staff that if it comes through plan review, that the facility be securable at night. I think the automated part of it will have its doors like I've seen with other car washes in town, but the self-serve days may be a different story. Lighting probably would go a long way to deter some of that, but I think that's something staff can look at during the plan review process.
Any other questions, Council? Pat, thank you. Thank you. Again, it's a public hearing item. Is there anybody that would like to come forward and speak in favor of this request? Please state your name.
Jason Parker, 4900 Knights Ferry Road, and I'm the applicant. Just wanted to introduce myself and see if you guys had any more questions. I know he said the same thing.
Any questions for Jason, Council? We're good? Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Is there anybody that would like to come forward and speak in opposition to this request? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to Council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, show of hands. All in opposition, same sign. One in opposition. Right. Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, we tabled at the beginning of the meeting. We'll move on to item 5, ordinances and resolutions. Consideration of a resolution to approve an amendment to the Georgia Municipal Employees Benefit System Master Defined Benefit Retirement Plan. Jenny Boyer, our HR Administrator, to present.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As you know, the City of Valdosta Retirement Plan is part of the larger GMEBS plan administered by Georgia Municipal for the benefit of our employees. The plan is a qualified plan governed by IRS regulations. In the December 2nd, 2022 meeting, the Board of Trustees made 2 changes to the master plan that do not impact the City of Valdosta plan in any way. However, because we are part of the larger plan and we are individually a designed plan, we are required to adopt this resolution in order to remain compliant with IRS regulations. The 2 changes are in your packet. Again, it has no impact at all on our plan. It's just basically a formality to make sure we stay compliant with the IRS regulations. For that reason, we recommend that we adopt this resolution.
Council, any questions for Jenny? Jenny, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, it's yours for action.
Mr. Mayor, I make a recommendation we adopt this resolution as presented.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Council, thank you. Item B, consideration of a resolution for civility for the City of Valdosta. Catherine Ammons, our Assistant City Manager, to present.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So last year, GMA rolled out the Certified City of Civility. It was an initiative that it basically states that you guys know that you will disagree, but agree to disagree with civility and respect. So in order for us to become that certified city, we need to adopt a resolution, and in your packet you'll see those 7 initiatives. There's also a pledge, and it's basically pledging that during a council session you guys will be civil and respectful, not only amongst yourselves, our attendees, our citizens, and our employees. So staff recommends that you guys adopt the resolution.
Council, any questions for Catherine?
Just to clarify, this is something that was rolled out by GMA, correct, last year?
Last year, and in the last 2 months.
For all cities?
For all cities that participate within the GMA pool, I did reach out to them, and 75 cities in the last 2 months have adopted the resolution. So it's ongoing, and their hopes is that all the cities within the GMA pool participate and adopt it.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to ask this question. Is it a generalized resolution that GMA uses? They don't
it is.
Make it city specific?
It is. It's a general. But then the city that adopts it, of course, would be the City of Valdosta's civility.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, would you have council sign it before they leave tonight?
So Brian has the form, and then if we get it passed tonight, we will also be recognized, I think it's in 2 weeks in Savannah, as a certified city of civility. So you know, that was asked on Tuesday, and I guess the best way to answer that is that would really be for the mayor to make sure that everyone, you know, that's seated up here just acts within that civil, respectful manner. And what I always tell everybody is just treat each other the way that you want to be treated, and it shouldn't be that difficult.
Council, any further questions for Catherine? Catherine, thank you. Council, I'll turn it over to you for action.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this resolution for the city of civility, for the city of Valdosta.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, show of hands. Council, thank you. Excellent. Move on to item 6, bids, contracts, agreements, and expenditures. Item A, consideration of a request to approve improvements to the Mud Creek Water Pollution Control Plant. Bradley Ayer, our Director of Utilities, to present. Bradley, how you doing?
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome back.
For all that information the other day, too.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. This is a request to approve the improvements for the Mud Creek Water Pollution Control Plant. These are capital budget items that were previously approved in the fiscal year 23 budget, and they consist of underground piping, yard piping, and plug valve replacements, splitter box at the effluent piping improvements, addition to the belt press conveyor system to properly convey sludge to containers, and improvements to the backcountry truck waste disposal pad there. And if you see in your package there's some attachments with a figure and some drawings. The figure aerial there shows the areas that are highlighted or circled in the red clouded lines there that show the areas of improvement. And then the drawings thereafter they'll show the equipment and items that are going to be modified or improved or replaced. Utilities Department selected term sheet engineers on our approved engineering consultants list. Their cost proposal for design fees are estimated at $65,250, which is based on 8.5% of actual construction costs, which are estimated at $750,000. We recommend the approval of this proposal so that we can move on with the design and put these plans out for bid for improvements. I'll take any questions you might have.
Council, any questions for Bradley? Bradley, thank you. Council, it's yours for action.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve this request as presented.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, show of hands. Council, thank you. Item B, consideration of bids for resurfacing of streets in the city of Valdosta through the SPLOST 8 funding. Ben O'Dowd, our city engineer, to present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Ben.
Good evening. I'm here to kind of briefly go back over what we discussed on Tuesday. I won't bore you with all the details that I did then. We initially put the project list out for your consideration back in January. No changes have been made to the project since the approval of that preliminary project list. We were able to secure funding from the LMIG grant. The city has historically utilized this grant to help assist resurface our public roads. When we selected the 5 miles of streets that we were going to perform work on, we initially put out bids for all of the possible work, sideline and mainline work that could possibly be performed along those routes. Those bids came back, and the low bid for that scope of work was roughly $2.6 million. We kind of went back to the drawing table there and had to kind of pull back to the scope of work that we could conceivably do, which was the milling and overlaying of the actual asphalt. And those once we reanalyzed and reassessed those bids, the project cost, it didn't affect the low bidder in any way. And so the project cost was reduced to $1.7 million roughly. Again, that's $1,772,152, and that was through the modification of the base bid. We added a 10% contingency to that for unforeseen circumstances in the field, which is $177,215.20. And that brings the total proposed project cost for LMIG or resurfacing work in 2023 to be performed and executed in calendar year 2024 to $1,949,367.20. We considered utilizing the full scope of work, and it would not have been fiscally responsible to pursue that course of action. And so for that reason, city staff is recommending we go with the modified base bid amount to the tune of $1,949,367.20. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any question for Ben?
And we're still going to use Ream and Sign, correct?
Yes, they were the approved low bidder.
Any further questions? Ben, thank you. Council, is yours for action.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the request as stated.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further comments? All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Council, thank you. Item C, consideration of a request to approve an amendment to the master terms and conditions for the Via Transit Service. Anthony Musgrove, our Public Works Administrator, will present.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Good evening. Little history here. Valdosta on Demand launched on April 27th, 2021, with the option to renew the agreement for 3 additional one-year terms, and this being the last one. The city was approved FTA 5307 grant and congressionally directed spending to fund the transit program. The city's match was approved in the proposed FY24 budget. The attached amendment outlines the fee, vehicle hours, and the total contract value not to exceed $1,993,204 for the 3rd renewal term commencing effective date July 1, 2023 until June 30th, 2024. We recommend the approval of the amendment. Answer any questions.
Council, any questions for Anthony? Anthony, thank you. Council, it's yours for action.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this consideration for the request.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Excuse me. All in favor, show of hands. Council, thank you. Ben?
I told she wasn't very civil.
Were you in on that vote? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Unanimous. Brian?
Sorry, I was talking.
No, it's all right. We'll move on to item 7, citizens to be heard. It's the portion of the meeting that we ask you to come forward and state your name and address so we may have it for the record. Our policy requires you stay under 3 minutes so that others have time to be heard. Please direct all comments to council as a whole. Do not attempt to engage individual members of council in debate. It is this council's policy to follow through with you and your concern almost immediately. Additionally, we ask that any groups that want to address the council designate one spokesperson again to ensure that all can be heard. Please get us started this evening.
I'm Gwendolyn Hodges. I stay at 1416 Willie Hartsell Drive, formerly known as Continental Drive. The problem that I'm having is my mail isn't being delivered accordingly the way it should be. Everything that comes to my house is going back to the sender. I've tried to get in touch with the postmaster here in Valdosta, but apparently I'm having a roadblock because I keep speaking to supervisors, and they keep telling me the same thing. They don't know what's going on. They're talking to people in Atlanta, and they're saying that the approval has been made, but my mail continues to go back to the sender. As a matter of fact, I had some mail that came from the city, and it went back to the city. And this has been going on since November. And this is, what, June, July, August, September. Okay, this is June. So it is something that is really disturbing, and it's happening to a lot of residents on the street. They're not coming forward. I am, because I'm concerned. And also what it's doing, it's credit cards are coming to my home. Well, they're not coming to my home. They're going back to the sender, and now they're canceling my accounts. My bank statements, they're not coming to my home. And everyone I've talked to, everyone keeps saying, have you talked to the post office? Yes, I have. And I don't know what else to do. So I'm asking the council, please, can you help me get this resolved? If you can get me a meeting with the postmaster, I can speak with her myself. I have no problem speaking with anyone. It's just that I need this to be resolved. It's just too much. Too much.
Ms. Hodges, thank you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, and we also call it Nightmare on Willie Hostel Street.
How does...
Are there any other citizens to be heard tonight?
I don't know, could be.
Hello, citizen.
Thank you. J.D. Wright, 501 Knob Hill Drive, Valdosta, Georgia. I come to brag on the city of Valdosta. I want to thank City Manager Hardy on behalf of the American veterans, more affectionately known as AMVETS. I want to thank your staff, Brenda Dane over at Main Street, Stephen Jolly, the facilities director, I guess that's his title, I don't know what his title is, but DeMarcus Marshall, Chief Monahan, and Commanders Renfro and McGraw. And I'm going to thank the fire chief separately because I've got a prejudice toward the fire department. But we hosted our very first music festival at the new amphitheater across the street from City Hall a couple of weeks ago in recognition of Memorial Day. And most of us realized that Memorial Day was set aside to honor those who died for our freedom, for fighting for this country. And we wanted to do something different than just a traditional ceremony that we always do. So we had a free music festival, and it was a tremendous success. And it could not have happened had not the city manager and the folks at the City of Valdosta stepped up and said, what can we do to make this thing work? And I just want to tell Mr. Mayor and the council publicly, job well done, accolades, your veterans, we're here to serve, and we couldn't be more prouder than to work with folks like you have on staff at City of Valdosta. Thank you.
JD, thank you. Thank you for your efforts.
Yes, sir. And lastly, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank the fire department separately for stepping up and helping us for our Memorial Day program. So everything was just wonderful. The program, Mr. Mayor, you were in attendance. City manager was there. If you've never seen the veterans do a memorial service, you need to come watch it one time. It's heart-wrenching when they play Amazing Grace and they play taps. It's hard to stand at attention with a dry eye. So I just want to tell you how proud I am to serve and how thankful we are for what you guys did for us Memorial Day weekend. Thank you so much.
JD, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
As we await anybody else that wants to come forward at this time, I was also honored to be ushered in as the Sons of AMVETS as well, since my father had service to God and Country in the United States Marines for 4 years as well. So I am now a card-carrying member. Thank you, JD. Are there any other citizens wishing to be heard?
Good evening. Dr. Brad Bergstrom, 2101 Michael Terrace, Valdosta. I stood at this podium 23 years ago, along with many others, to encourage the council to pass an important revision to the tree and landscape ordinance, which they did. This ordinance, as revised and strengthened, is an important underpinning for Valdosta continuing to be accepted as a Tree City USA, which I'm sure you know. The important goals and principles of the ordinance are best summarized, in my opinion, by these statements in the ordinance itself, from section 62-91 and 62-92, and I quote, "Preservation of specimen and canopy trees shall be given special consideration in the preparation of site development plans.
It is the desire of the city to preserve all existing trees wherever possible in development, end quote. And, quote, specimen trees are trees which warrant special consideration and encouragement for preservation. Specimen trees may be designated for preservation because of rarity, aesthetic value, historical value, botanical importance, importance to overall community planning, or size, end quote. And I simply want to urge the council in any future decisions under the purview to consider that tendencies by some developers perhaps to maximize profit by minimizing trees runs counter to these principles stated in the ordinance, and to steer developers back toward these foundational principles of our tree city. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens wishing to be heard at this time?
I made this walk probably about 6 or 7 months ago, and I was wobbly, and I didn't know why. And when I reached here, I said, I think I got a neurology problem. I didn't really know that. I just said it, but I really didn't.
You take your time.
Yeah. Greetings to the Mayor Pro Tem, and the city manager, and the city council collectively, and everyone else in their position in their respective places. I just want to give a shout out to the fire department, the first responders. I was attending my grandson's graduation on the 26th of May at Lowndes High School, and at the end of the service, and as we were all leaving, I ended up passing out. And the fire department, they were the first responders, and then they called the ambulance. So they played a very important role in saving my life. And I could hear people talking, but I didn't know who they were, and I didn't really see them, but I knew they were the first responders. So I called and tried to find out who they were, and so finally this morning I received a call back. I was supposed to remember his name, but his name is Chief Tyler Shoemaker. He called me back and he told me, he said, thank you for calling and saying that, because because I want to thank them personally. He said because they were happy to know that people, would call back and thank them for something like that. And also I want to shout them out for the certification that they received as well.
You're beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other citizens wishing to be heard tonight? Chief, you missed half that, didn't you? We'll close out that portion of the evening and turn it over to Richard Hardy, our city manager, for his city manager's report.
Well, welcome back, Mayor. Want to recognize our councilwoman, Sandra Tooley. She received the Community Changemaker Social Justice Award this past Saturday.
Thank you.
A lot of interesting stuff going on this week. Saturday, June the 10th, is our Makers Market, Historic Courthouse Square, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. June the 12th, Monday, our City Photo Contest opening, Turner Center, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. June the 14th, Wednesday, our Goodwill Youth Tour with the city. Lunch will be at 11:30 a.m. in the multi-purpose room. And June the 16th, Friday, our 31st annual Juneteenth celebration, Unity Park, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's all I have.
That's a lot. Council, we'll move on to council comments. Two other items to add. This weekend is Kenny Moore's football camp out at Lowndes High School. One of our favorite sons is coming home to give back to our community. We're going to honor him with a joint proclamation from city and county honoring it as Kenny Moore Day. Also at 11 o'clock, I'll be opening a single fathers conference as well out at Austin's that was mentioned here tonight in their conference room. Just 2 more great items to attend or to take in as well. And a amazing contingent of representation in our community went up to Washington, D.C. this past Monday and got back about 2 hours ago, in case you're wondering about the mayor dragging rear end right now as well. But we are well represented with county government, city government, and development authority, hospital, university, technical college, on and on and on, right down to tourism and the conference center director as well going with us. And we got 3 meetings with our 3 congressmen that represent this region, and both senators and their staffs as well. Took some of the staffers to a ball game as well, and just made sure that they heard our concerns and our needs here in this community, and we're all still basking in the glow, even if not overly tired of a great visit up there with our representation. So be proud of your community. The message that came back to us from every staff was what a great show of unity. So it went very well. Council, I'll open it to you. None? You're tired?
Yeah. I would like to say I'm always looking at things going on here in the city and looking at our streets and so forth and everything. And I got to give some kudos to our engineering department. I did a wonderful job down there on Lee Street, close to an area that I frequent quite a lot. Thank you so very much for that. You did a wonderful job, and it's great. And I also wanted to say, too, listening at your report talking about the streets and the resurfacing of the streets and everything like that, what our city engineer Ben did, he gave a good explanation of it, and he also showed to me how he understands about how we can adjust the cost in doing things for our city and for our streets. And I like the way you explained that. It's only one thing I would just like to put you on alert about. I would like for you to try to come up with a project to talk to, and I'll talk to the city manager with you, to come up with an idea to help us with the older area. I think you got a good understanding, and I think you could do it. I really do. So I appreciate all that you're doing, and what you did and the way you explained it showed that you got the knowledge and the know-how to do that. So just be on the alert. I'm going to be trying to get you to come up with a project. Thank you.
Thank you. And he's young and hungry.
Good. That's what I like.
Mayor, I'd like to ask the city manager if, the city can help out with any of these projects of camps that they're having in the community. I'm not sharing it on our websites, any of these youth camps, because we have a lot of kids out who don't have anything to do, any of these free camps that they can attend. We got to try to do something to keep these young people off the streets, so if we can put some of those camps or anything on our website to help get the word out, that would be great.
Will do.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a couple of comments regarding the budget. I hate to see that Amy and Ms. Carolyn left, because first and foremost I'd like to thank the 2 of them as the keepers of our budget and all that goes into it. But I wanted to just commend you as in your first full month, I think now we're at a month, as city manager, and Catherine and all the department heads, because I know putting together a municipal budget is not an easy task. And there were a lot of, you got to cut here, you got to cut there, because, department heads understandably come forward and go, we need this, we need this, we need that. And, well, that's going to put you $4 million over your budget, so you're going to have to cut something. And I know that's a tough job and a lot of difficult work, but now having been through 16 budget hearings over 16 years in office, I want to applaud y'all in particular, because, in the past we've had a senior member in the city manager's role, and after the senior member in city management, we had the actual former CFO of the city in that seat, so doing the budget was a common thing for them. But I just wanted to shout out and thanks everybody. Good job.
I wanted to say to my fellow council members, thank you for voting to assist me in getting Fry Street done, sidewalks been. We ride down Hill Avenue, all the way to MLK, you can walk on the sidewalks. My citizens, the senior citizens, say thank you because job well done. The grass is beautiful. It looks awesome. Just ride on the south side from Hill Avenue all the way down to MLK. I salute you, being job well done of organizing that. And again, I thank my counterparts for voting to help me get that done in District 1. I also want to thank our chiefs. This weekend we had East Side Family Reunion, and I want to thank Mr. George Page. It was a great event. The community loved it. There was no incidents. The fire department, the trucks were beautiful parked out there while they stayed. I want to thank Chief Mellingham, how she allowed the streets to be blocked, and the kids just had a ball. And again, to our counterparts, again, I thank you all for what you've done for that event. I really want to thank Georgia Power for what they came out and done for that event. And we look forward to other things going on in our community. And I just heard over the radio that we're having a gospel fest again this weekend at Unity Park. So Unity Park is moving up, and everybody's wanting to use Unity Park. And like our Councilman Tim said, our new city manager, our city deputy, job well done. Thank you all for having an open door policy for the citizens to be able to speak with you and talk, and they leave out feeling job well done. You did listen. Even if you couldn't solve the problem, you listened, and that means so much to the citizens. Again, from District 1, Councilwoman Cody, and my six, we say thank you.
Councilwoman, thank you. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye, aye, aye.